The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Commission Mission. My name is Micah Henderson.
And I'm Eric Gerace, and I'm excited today, Micah. I have my sponsor at EXP, just an amazing all-around person. Actually, I heard a comment the other day, if you don't like Knolly, something's wrong with you. And it's true. Not only does he have a huge heart, he's amazingly successful in business. He has done thousands of real estate transactions, and he's built up a team at EXP that's doubled in the year that I've joined since I've joined. So I'm excited to have you. Welcome, Knolly Williams. So happy to have you here today.
I'm super excited to be here as well. Hey, Micah. Hey, Eric. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Life is good, man.
And you guys look good.
I have not been working out.
That Florida sun, huh?
You know, that's right. But one of the things, Knolly, that was stood out to me about your success in business was your ability to create a team and service that team to just such a high level. So can you just explain how you went from a single agent now to having 250 agents underneath you? Like, what was that journey like? What was the turning point that you decided, hey, I need other people in my life? Kind of describe it.
Actually, for me, the turning point happened a lot earlier. You know, I became an entrepreneur at the age of 13, and I would always sell something. Okay, so I started off door to door selling newspapers, sold candy, whatever I could do to take 10 cents and convert it into 50 cents, or take 40 cents and convert it into $1.50. I love that whole process. And my dad was an entrepreneur as well. And I grew up that way. As I got a little older, about 16 or so, I learned that you could make a lot more profit on other sales items, which were not, how should I say, not in line with what everyone expected of me. And so I went down a path that was a little dark for a little while. But I came back at the age of 18, came back on the right path, and moved to Austin, Texas. And the entrepreneurial bug was still fresh. I started college, and I dropped out of college to start my first business, which was a record label. And that was at the age of 23. And I started with $1,500, or about $1,800 that I'd gotten from friends and family. And within about 5 years, that had grown to $150,000 a month in revenue for the company. And so I was team building even then. So I had 14 employees. I had 18 artists on the label. And but I didn't know anything about business. You know, I was just winging it. And it was one of those things where there was, if I could make enough cash, it was all good. You know, money solves all problems, right? So I was always like one step ahead, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I was building a team, really didn't know how or anything. So by the time I was 30, I'd made my first $1 million when I was 29 years old. Actually made $2 million that year. And by the time I was 33, I was broke. The music industry imploded, and I went out of business. And so, but fast forward, I got into real estate in 2003, and it was within 8 months of being in the real estate game that I realized that I needed, help. I needed help. So I did a lot of research, a lot of study on how to build a team. What does a team look like? How do I show up as a leader? And that's really what got me started was the early work that I did in my early 30s about studying how teams are built.
And just to kind of give you some feedback, when I came on to EXP, he has a group called Mentorship Masters. And so when you onboard with EXP, it's a cloud brokerage. There's not like a lot of in-person or phone calls you could make. So you're kind of, if you feel like when you start, you're kind of like on this island by yourself. And but because I had used Knolly as my sponsor, Mentorship Masters immediately reached out. He had a checklist of everything I needed to do in the first 30 days to get onto the right path. And so it's that kind of support that I think a lot of people are looking for in whatever business or area that they're specializing in, is how to create that support, and so with the Mentorship Masters group, how did that come about? Like, what was the...
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've been a follower of Russell Brunson and his work with ClickFunnels, and even before he launched ClickFunnels. And I'm a systems guy, 100%. So anytime that I test out on an aptitude, it always says that I should have been an engineer. Like that's kind of the way my brain operates, is like an engineer. And so what I did with, before I started Mentorship Masters, I had groups, but you'd have to pay. So I had this one group was $10,000 a year. And then I had another group that was $25,000 a year. I did one-on-one coaching. I had products that you could buy from me and all this plethora of things. And, but when I saw the EXP model, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And I studied it for 100 days before I joined. I studied it in and out, and I realized that I could actually take the organizational, because you have to have structure and organization. Even if people don't like it, a lot of people don't like structure, they don't like organization, but if they want to have optimal success, they're going to snap into a structure, because success is actually a structure. That's all it is. And when someone snaps into the structure, they're successful. If they don't snap into the structure, they don't achieve success, or they don't achieve the heights that they could if they would simply just snap into the structure of success. So, so I actually, the way I look at EXP is a platform, and it's a platform for which I can run my operation. We've got over 700 employees at EXP. We have all the technology and systems, but like you said, it does give you that. There's so much. It's like dropping you off at a candy store, and you're like, okay. And here's the thing that we know, Micah and Eric, if you give people too many choices, they make their favorite choice, which is to do nothing. Okay. And so the way we structured it at Mentorship Masters, we don't really give you choices, and we take away the, you can think on your own, but you don't have to. And we say it's probably better if you don't, because, in other words, like if you're going to go build a house, you don't have to try to figure out how houses are built. We pretty much all know that the foundation is done first, and then the plumbing is set in that, and then there's a structure, there's an order to how it's done, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so we basically created all that before we launched Mentorship Masters, or I should say it didn't really have a team when I joined EXP. I started with myself, and I just had one agent at a time, but the whole thing was you now don't have to think for yourself how to succeed. I sold over 1,000 houses my first 10 years in real estate, and I created a structure for how I did that, and actually created a 480-page manual, which is crazy, but it's a 480-page manual step by step on how I did it, so that someone doesn't have to feel like they're on an island by themselves. I always tell people, if you fly into Costa Rica and you're going to navigate through the jungle, would you rather just do it on your own, or would you rather have a guide that's done it for the past 20 years? You'd rather have that guide, take you through. And so that's really what Mentorship Masters does. We did realize that in our view, there was a little bit of a chink in the armor, or a gap, if you will, at EXP, in that the onboarding process could be better in our opinion, but the company's phenomenal, but the foray into, we've kind of closed the gap and filled in that section, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does, because that was my experience. So go ahead, Micah. Did you have something?
I was just going to, even before the path, once you've gotten to EXP and getting started there, when you're trying to look for talented go-getters, we were talking about recruiting a rock star, right? Is there something that you look for, personality traits, something they say that cues you in, maybe questions that you ask that lets you know, this is somebody that I need to invest my time with, or if we should just say, thanks, but no thanks.
Disc. Go ahead, Knolly.
Yeah, and it is. But here's the truth that we know, because I'm a big believer in aptitude tests and in personality profiles,
Systems,
profiling systems like that. But if you solely go by that, you'll be a little bit amiss, because even my personality profile doesn't fit as a top recruiter or even a top producer. I don't have the profile for that, but I've learned how I am, how I work, how I show up. And so I haven't really adapted. I've just said, okay, this is who I am. Okay. And this is how I'm going to sell within within the framework of my personality profile. But here's the truth. In my view, and I used to hear this all the time: the quality is in the quantity. Gary Keller talked about this in his book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and I used to read that book twice a year, and I just discounted that part. I was like, man, that's dumb. The quality is in the quantity. So his theory was just bring them all, and the cream will rise to the top. They'll self-select.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And so honestly, I've become a believer of that over time, because as I've recruited people, I'll recruit somebody. I'm like, man, that guy's going to be a rock star. And they come in and they don't do anything. They're a dud. And I bring in a dud, so-called, and then that person becomes a rock star at helping us grow. So, it really is, the quality is in the quantity. You bring them all. And there's three different kinds of agents. There's the newbie Ned. That's the brand new agent, green behind the ears. And their biggest question or their biggest concern is the how. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Whatever. So there's newbie Ned. And then there's coasting Crystal. Okay. Coasting Crystal is, they've always done 3-4 million a year. They're consistent, but they're not growing. They're just coasting. Right. And then there's Rockstar Rick. Now, Rockstar Rick, that's the guy that is just a stud out the gate, right? So if you want to recruit from a top-down approach, you start with the Rockstar Rick, but they're harder to get. You got different strategies for recruiting the different types of people, right? Because they have different needs. And so the reality of it is, at the end of the day, in my view, you bring them all, and the only way you can do that is to have a system to where it doesn't require a lot of your time, okay, to do that. So I can run efficiently a group of 2,000 to 3,000 agents just as efficiently as I can run 10 agents with the model and system I put in place.
I have I've heard that method of recruiting, and I have yet to kind of subscribe to it. And just like how you started being kind of skeptical of it, that I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I really like dedicating my time to 1 or 2 or 3 people, so I could really be available, answer questions, go out on appointments with them, and help them up. But I've heard it from many other people that you can start with larger groups and they sort themselves out, that when people don't do what they're supposed to do, you take that as a signal that they're just not as invested, that just like Eric's pointed out before, you give people next steps, and that is lets you know where they're at.
Yeah, we were talking about how do you distinguish between tire kickers and someone that's ready to do it by right now. And one of the things that my partner and I started coming up with is when they ask us something, we give them an answer, but we also give them a next step. And then when they take that next step, then we continue our conversation with them. So it kind of helps us weed out the people that are just there to ask questions and are never going to take any action with you, and get people and move forward with the right people. And we do that just not only with clients, but with potential team members as well. One of the things.
Let me speak to that for just a second, because what we have to understand and realize is the fortune is in the follow-up. Okay. Let me say it again. The fortune is in the follow-up. So I've got a guy here in our group that earns about 900,000 a year in commission. He's been consistently doing that for 30 years. Now, when I first, and by the way, he got his degree in real estate, and he graduated at the age of 22 and got right into selling real estate. Okay. So he's been doing it consistently. He's been making big numbers, but I reached out to him immediately when I joined EXP, and he was not a no. He was not a no. He was a hell no. Like a hell to the no. I ain't never doing that.
The hardest.
But basically, I kept up with him. I just, and that's part of the process. See, recruiting is really a 4-step process, and one of the things that you find is, anyway, he joined me a year and a half later. Okay. I just got a text from a gal in San Antonio while I was out this morning. Okay. She says, "Hey, I need to talk to you today about EXP." Now, I called her almost 3 years ago. It's about probably 30 months ago. I called 32 months ago. But this week she got a postcard. 4 days ago, she got a postcard in the mail from me, and she's consistently heard from me, okay, consistently for the last 3 years. And so I follow up with them until they buy, die, or tell me to stop. Okay. So if you have a great follow-up system, because see, the thing is, that person might be joining you in 2 years, a year, or 3, 4, 5 years. It doesn't matter. Okay. But their gate might be closed right now, So I've learned to incubate. So, you generate the lead is the first step. And then first you generate, and then you capture. You have a capture mechanism where you get them you build your list. And then you incubate, and then you convert. And a lot of people want to generate, convert, generate, convert. That's the high D's.
Yeah.
But the reality is the magic happens in the middle. That's the reason why the magic happens between capture and incubation. And so that's the reason why Andy Green, who was a coaching client of mine years ago, he was doing 25 million a year. And I kept telling him, Andy, and I told everybody the same thing in the group coaching class that he was part of. And this was a full year he coached with me. Finally, he got it. He said, okay, now he says we need to incubate. So he hired a gal, a VA, 20 hours a week, paid her some god awful low amount of money, a VA, overseas VA.
Yeah.
And within 12 months, he went from 25 million a year to 50 million a year in sales, just by doing one thing, following up with his leads. Because he would say, okay, that person's not ready to buy, kick them to the curb. No, instead, the VA would say, hey, we see you're not ready to buy. That's okay. We'll reach out to you in 2 months. And then she reach out to him. Oh, you're not ready yet either, huh? Okay, that's okay. We'll reach out to you in 2 months. And eventually they would convert. Some people take longer than others.
There was something that Renat said when we were speaking with him about how people's circumstances change, their lives change. They're not in a position right now. Maybe they're too comfortable, or there's something not driving them, something holding them back. But circumstances change. So follow up, and you're going to catch them at the right time. So yeah, I like that. How'd you say it? Whether they buy, die, or just tell you to stop?
Yep.
Yeah, they buy, die, or tell me to stop. That you're going to hear from me, and that's why I put my unsubscribe button. I try to make it very convenient,
available,
because that way your list is, it basically is, it's sort of self-governing, if you will. You just give them the ability to slip out the back door, and here's God's honest truth. I'm talking to a broker right now who had 30 agents. Okay, 30 agents. She's been a broker for a long time, dozens of years. And she just reached out to me, and she's got 24 agents, because 6 of them have left and come to EXP. So she's like, what's this EXP? I got to know about it because I'm losing my agents. So she's an independent broker. And so I was Googling, I was trying to figure out, okay, where do I know her from? So we were doing my search, and lo and behold, earlier this year, I think it was in June of this year, she sent me an email that said, stop sending me emails. I do not want any more of your information. Now, she told me to stop, but I've got the unsubscribe there for a reason. I'm not going to go in and take you off my list just because you told me to. You do that yourself. If you want off Knolly, you got on my list yourself. You get yourself off yourself. And so yeah, they have to buy, die, or tell me to go away, or tell me to stop. And otherwise, you're going to keep hearing from me. And the people that I've reached out, they're going to hear from me for 10 years from now. They'll be hearing from Uncle Knolly about joining our group, Mentorship Masters, and they might join in 10 years. That's okay with me. Whenever you're ready,
Pipeline.
I'm okay.
And this was such an important facet of my business that I was setting up, that I spent with my partner a good 6 to 10 months of evaluating CRMs and going through to see what they offered, how they worked. And I mean, it was brutal, because I would have to set up a CRM completely from scratch, get it tested out, and then try another one the next couple of weeks, So it wasn't an easy process to go through. And then when we found EXP, they include a CRM with when you join. And so that in and of itself was phenomenal. But the other day I found on Google, on Gmail, they have Streak CRM that you can now add as an extension onto your Gmail, and it's free. So there's no excuse not to have a follow-up system out there. It's crucial for the success of your business, especially nowadays with the way communication is, the ability for people to talk and communicate. Your level of expectation as an agent or as a sales rep or whatever your role is in this transaction with them, their expectation of your ability to follow up and communicate with them is a lot higher nowadays than it was in the past.
When it comes to follow-up systems, what do you guys prefer? Do you do a combination of email, phone calls, physical mail, texts,
postcards, like Knolly said?
Yeah, physical mail. Yeah, I mean, so what do you guys prefer? Or a little bit of all of them, where do you find the most success?
Well, different people respond differently to different things. So I do it all. So I do phone calls, and so I have a gal in our group that will physically call, traverse the list about every quarter. So for example, right now I have 239 agents that have not. So I've recruited 126 personally, and I have about double that number, just about almost, that have not. They haven't said no, but they haven't said yes. So I email them, I text them, I call them. I don't personally call them, but I have, my person call them, and we just follow up. And then we do snail mail. We do physical mail outs to them as well. And so, I mean, obviously you've got to capture all their information to be able to do that. But so we follow and if we could do physical drop-bys, we do that too, if that's available. Now, obviously there's, now here's the cool thing, Micah, because you said something that resonated with me too. You said that you would much rather have a small group, a small team that you would govern or kind of give all of that's kind of the Jesus model, right? So Jesus got 12 people.
Disciples, yeah.
But that really kind of, his downline is billions, right? So from that, but at the same time, it will self-select to that. So what a lot of people don't realize is Jesus had thousands of disciples, but he had 12 that were the inner 12. And it says, he went to the inner group, his inner circle, his inner tribe, if you will. But you would see that he'd have hundreds of people that followed him and were with him all the time and stuff. So, and by the way, he had a lot of women that supported him as well financially, lucrative contributions to his ministry. So the point is though, is that right now, once I hit 250 agents a few weeks ago, I decided to create the inner circle. So the inner circle of our mentorship masters is anyone that has 5 directs, 5 people that they personally recruited, or more. So that inner circle right now is 8 people. Okay, 8 people in our whole group. There's 8 of them, and so now I've set myself in a position where I've got people that run mentorship masters, and then I'm solely focused on those 8. I mean, not solely, but say 90% of my time is on those 8. And Eric is right on the cusp of it. He'll be there
Get in there.
a month or two.
Yep.
So he'll be in the inner circle, and so you ultimately will have that, at some point. And the reality is, it doesn't matter how big. And by the way, my inner circle will never be more than 40 people. Okay. So it doesn't, and that's even if I have 42,000 agents, which is our goal, that's our number in the next 10 years. If we have 42,000 agents, my group or my inner circle, the ones that personally touch me, will only be 40 at the most. Okay. So it could be less than that. So you can still have your inner circle, and you can still, just like a corporation can have 100,000 employees, but the CEO or the COO probably only has 3 people that directly report to him. Okay. And then each of those has 3, and maybe each of those under them has 10, and so on. Right. So don't think that because your business becomes big, it has to become more work. It, in truth, will be the same way, no matter. And this is a lesson I learned when I was 8 months in the business. I hired a coach for $1,000 a month, and I, just like all agents, I was like, I can't afford a coach, but I couldn't afford not to have one. Yeah. Right. So my coach said, "What's your goal?" I said, "I want to do 40 deals a year." She said, and I thought she would laugh, like everybody else that I told was I want to do 40 a year my first year. And she said, "Knolly, why won't we just do 100? I said, "Now that's crazy." I said, "There's no way I'm going to do 100. She said, "I want to make you a promise. If you will commit to do 100 deals a year, you'll work half as much time as you'll work doing 40. Wow. And so I thought she was nuts, but I didn't know any other way. She'd been coaching for a lot of the top agents. So I said, okay, I'll just follow her model. And lo and behold, she was absolutely right, because the more deals you do, the more leverage you have, to where you still don't really have to physically touch that many personal transactions, but you can have a team that does, the majority of the deals. But you have to have a structure set up for that.
And one of the things that Knolly's really good at is training and teaching people how to recruit. So if you have your select 3 people that you want to work with, if you're just really good at teaching them how to recruit and what kind of people, and send them out. Yeah. So now you don't have to go do the recruiting, your people recruit for you.
And that inner circle, through their efforts and through their actions, they rise to the top. And then, one thing I wanted to point out to you about getting that coach, something that Jonathan, a previous guest, pointed out that blew my mind is the same reason why you have to is the same reason why you can't. Or I think I have that backwards.
Yeah, well, a lot of people will say, I can't do that, I can't afford it.
And that's the exact reason why you have to.
But that's the exact reason. Or I can't do that, I can't do this because of my kids. Yeah. I can't do this, that's the exact reason. So most people, the excuse that they're using why they can't do it is the exact reason why they need to.
Yeah. Man, that's real good. Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate your time, and a lot of gold nuggets of knowledge that a lot of people are going to benefit from. You're already helping so many achieve their goals, and you're going to do even more so. Now, is there any subject that is really near and dear to your heart that we haven't gotten to with our time together today?
Yeah, there is. But before we go into that, let me just share one quote from Brian Carruthers, and probably many others have said this: "If it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter." If it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter. And so the reality is, because as good as I am, or as good as I am at recruiting, it doesn't matter if they can't duplicate, right? Because then I'm stuck with a job instead of more of a position, if you will. So that's very, very important for those of us for those of you listening to understand that, because and in fact, one thing I had to learn was, as good as I am at something, it was actually holding my team back from growing, because they're like, oh, I'll never be as good as Knolly. I'm not even gonna try, right? So we had to create a duplicatable system that anybody could do, fresh out of real estate school or 20 years in the business, doesn't matter. And you could have 80 to 90% the same success of of Eric Giras or Knolly Williams or whoever else. So that's very important for people to understand that as well. But I feel like the one thing we didn't discuss is sort of the system that we follow. That's very important. And if you're taking notes, now if you're driving right now, don't take notes.
Play it again.
Go back and listen again to the podcast. But really, there are. I've been a student of success and entrepreneurship since my early 20s, and actually probably my late teens. And I'm 51 now, and I've studied entrepreneurship, success, and business for over 30 years. And what I've come to understand and learn and know is that there really are 8 pillars and 4 bodies. If you take care of those, everything, not only in your life, your business, everything will be taken care of. Your destiny, everything. And so, real quickly, and by the way, the big way that I learned a lot of this was studying the way franchises work, like a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's, or like a fast food franchise, if you will. Because one thing I learned in all my studies is that 80% of small businesses fail. Okay, if any small business, okay, if they go into business and they fail, 80% of them fail within 5 years. But a franchise, you know what the percentage of franchises that fail? It's actually flipped. 80% succeed.
And the 80-20 rule.
It's 80% succeed. So you're usually not going to see a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or Red Robin go out of business. Why? Because they have 8 pillars of success that govern them to prevent them from ever going out of business. And so the first one, is mindset. Okay, you got to teach your people how to think the right way. Mindset. Second pillar is activities. Okay, they're taught to do specific things in a specific way, because you can do the right things in the wrong order and not get any results. But if you do the right things in the right order, then you get results, right? So it's mindset, activities, then people. Okay, you've got to have the right people that you have. And the cool thing about what you guys are talking about, here with Commission Mission, is we're talking about people on commission. So in reality, it doesn't cost a lot to hire them, if you will, and they self-select. Okay, so you got the right people that you focus on, and then you've got the right systems. That's the fourth pillar, systems. Okay, so all of these franchises have systems in place of how they do things, right? And so that it's like, hey, we've done this before, we know how to do it. Okay, follow this. And then you've got the right tools. Eric was talking about it earlier, the right CRM, the right whatever tools that you use in your business, you got to have the right ones. Okay, so and then it's money. That's the 6th pillar, money. Having the right money mindset. And the question you want to ask yourself is, who taught you what you currently know about money? Think about that for a minute. Who taught you what you currently know about money? For most people, it's their parents or somebody that didn't have what they aspired to. I've got students that say, hey, man, I want to make $10 million. Well, you say your dad, your dad's the one that taught you about money. How much did he make? Oh, he made about $40,000 a year. Well, maybe it's time to get a new teacher, somebody that is a millionaire, right? So money mindset, and then it's accountability. Okay, this is the thing that most people do not want to have, but in order to achieve your highest height of success, you have to be accountable. It's not a scary term. I never liked it for many years, but all it means is the ability to give an account. That's it. The ability to give an account is accountability. And if you don't have it, you won't go as far. And that's with, having a good mentor, good coach. And then training is the 8th pillar. Okay. Like this podcast, make sure you subscribe to it, because this is training. This is the kind of training that you can get on a consistent basis to help you grow in your skills. So it's mindset, and then it's actions, people, systems, tools, money, accountability, and training. Those are the 8 pillars. And then the 4 bodies. You got to realize that you have 4 bodies. You have a mental body, a physical body, a spiritual body, and you have an emotional body. So every Homo sapiens has 4 bodies, and most people take care of 1 or 2. But if you take care of all 4, guess what? Everything else will be in alignment. And so that is a system that we actually teach at Mentorship Masters. So instead of just teaching people how to get rich, I made my first $1 million 22 years ago, and I've made millions of dollars since then. Okay, but it ain't just about that, right? So, but if you got tons of money, tons of wealth, but no health, you got a problem. right? Your spiritual life isn't intact, or you've forgotten how to feel or get in touch with your emotional body. Now you're living half a life. And so that's really, when it comes to having a sort of a full curriculum, that's what we're about. We're about transformation, not just in the financial area, but in every aspect of life as well.
Man, that is good. I feel like we could have done the whole episode on that.
Oh yeah, that's why I said with Knolly, there's multiple episodes. I'm sure we'll have him back as a guest in the future. Yeah. But thank you so much for your time today, brother. I really appreciate it. The fact that you would take some time out of your day to share some knowledge with us is just amazing, and we're really grateful for that. So thank you again.
So great to meet you, Knolly. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Take care, brother. Love you, man.
Take care.
So
it's a wrap.
So that's the episode, and then we normally just take a few minutes to kind of recap. But
sure,
man, and even the recapping from that, I don't think we'll be able to do in time. Like I can't unpackage that in my brain for our viewers for in 3-minute review of all that.
Yeah, I thought I had a little chart. I'll make sure I'll send you a chart if you want to.
All right.
So this is sort of the chart that I use to kind of the 8 pillars,
yep,
all the way around, and then the 4 bodies.
Actually, I think I have that.
Yeah, you should have. You can download that from inside the portal.
Yep.
And then that's your big why right there in the middle of your purpose for being here. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to it, man. We're creating better human beings, not just better salespeople.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic, so my money mindset was derived from a misquote of the Bible that money is the root of all evil.
Yeah,
is what the Catholic Church teaches.
Yeah.
And so it took Les Brown and Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins as my mentors in the beginning of listening to their videos constantly to change that mindset of how I saw money.
And speaking of mindset, like I'm really hoping that this podcast addresses a few of those pillars for people. And even if it is just mindset or your mindset on money or training, I hope this helps a few people, right?
Yeah, to fill in the gaps and get them on a path or a journey, and the realization that there is more out there. Yeah, for sure.
So everybody, Knolly. Knolly knowledge, like that was so much good stuff in one spot. I really liked the until they buy till they die, or till they ask me to stop. And everybody likes to communicate their own way, and how I do it is whenever somebody communicates with me, maybe after a phone call or after an email, I'll try to communicate on that same platform because obviously they're comfortable with it. So if I get an email back from them, I'll continue, that way. Or if I get a text back, I'll continue that way, or just phone calls. That was great. The 8 pillars, 4 bodies was amazing.
Just one little thing he forgot or wanted to expand on. That's what's amazing to me about Knolly, and one of the reasons why we were so excited to choose him as our sponsor at EXP was the depth of knowledge that comes from him is unbelievable, and he's all about service. He says that he only reaches out to a certain amount of people, but he's got a full team. That like from the moment I enrolled at EXP. I got an email from them saying, here's your steps. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get and what was really neat about that is it's overwhelming the amount of information you get from EXP to onboard. And the first email I got was from him saying, hey, you're going to get a lot of emails. Don't be over. And so it kind of was cushioning the blow for me on onboarding and making and flattening out the learning curve a little bit. But the fact that he does it from a place of service and heart is what.
Well, I mean, the systems you put in place. So I'm learning at the same time all of our viewers and listeners are learning, okay? And there's no point in really learning something if you don't put it into action. Like, that's great that you know how to do this thing, but you're not actually going out and implementing it into your life. So what's the point? Systems I really need help with, recruiting, changing my mindset to just wanting to focus on 1 or 2 or 3 new agents instead of welcoming all challengers and giving those next steps and letting their own actions and efforts take them to the next level. It's a shift in your mindset, and it's not easy, but you know the issue, and you implement it.
Yeah, while he was talking, I could smell the wood burning.
I know. There's always something that someone gives me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man.
Wow, that blows me away. And so that's another neat thing about being on this is we're always learning.
Yeah.
We don't know what we don't know. And that was part of the reason that we set up this podcast was to give out as much information as possible to help people in that arena to teach what they don't know. And what I love about it is we're always gaining from that ourselves as well.
Well, that was the commission mission for today. I think mission accomplished. Thanks everybody for coming out and listening. Next week, you're definitely want to check out the next interviewee that we coming in here, the next guest, the next wealth of knowledge for you guys to get a little better in your craft.
Yeah, thanks for joining, y'all. See you next time.
Bye. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Commission Mission. It is our mission to increase your commission. If you got any gold nuggets out of the episode today, make sure you don't miss any more. Click, like, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching this on. Make sure you don't miss any more good nuggets, and help us help you.
Yeah, one of the things that new or struggling entrepreneurs struggle with is asking for the sale. Asking for what you need, and they're afraid of rejection. But I'll give you a sample of that exactly right now is if this helped you in any way, please share this with 3 friends of yours, 3 people that you think would benefit from what was discussed on these podcasts. And
friends in sales, anyone in your organization that can benefit from this needs to hear it. Thanks, everybody.